Hello and welcome back to Rybrook TV, and today I wanted to come out and have a drive in what I think is one of BMW's most underrated models, the BMW i3. Let me explain. Firstly, the i3 has been with us for a lot longer than most people think. It first burst onto the scene in 2013, nonetheless, with its big brother, the i8. And well, the i8 actually went out of production last year, so the i3 has outlived the i8. And over the years, BMW have been adding more battery capacity and changing it slightly. But fundamentally, the basis of this car has been around since 2013, which is just a testament to how good this car is. And when we're on the subject of the batteries and so on, let me just run through a couple of stats. The BMW i3 has a 120 amp hour battery, which when fully charged can offer between 170 and 180 miles on a charge. It can charge from 0 to 80% on a home wall box between 3 to 5 hours. You can get two different power outputs, the regular i3 with 170 horsepower or 184 horsepower in the S, which is the model we have here. When the i3 burst onto the scene some 8 years ago, its looks divided opinion. It was different, it was futuristic. And now, here in 2021, I still think it looks incredibly futuristic, which is just testament to how forward-thinking BMW's designers were on this car. And well, this one, as an i3S, I think looks pretty good. You've got large 20-inch alloy wheels, you've got different design down the front, it's slightly more aggressive, it sits a little bit lower, you've got wider flared arches, and I think it really is standing the test of time brilliantly well. Then we have the interior. Still, after 8 years, just like the exterior, I think it's holding up to the test of time incredibly well. It's light, it's airy, you know where everything is if you're used to BMW. We've got a 10.25-inch display in the centre which has Apple CarPlay as well, digital dashboard in the middle, and well, it's all sustainable. Over 27 plastic bottles are used in the making of the seats and the panels, and also the strands of carbon fibre that are used all over the place in this car, in the chassis, in the whole build of the car, are built in a fully sustainable factory which is powered by nothing else other than wind. This car was so ahead of its time. You've got to remember, this came out in 2013, long before all the current regulations were brought into place and before the pledge for 2030 was even thought of. This car was so forward thinking and different, we didn't really know how to take it when it first came out, but now you look at this and you think, wow, how did BMW know? The i3 also drives incredibly well. I remember this actually, an i3 was the very first car I drove when I started working for BMW some 8 years ago, 7, 8, I can't remember now. It was when the i3 just come out. It was my first day out, took the keys to this electric thing. I'd never experienced an electric car before, and I remember it left a bit of an impression on me. I remember thinking that it drove so well. Obviously back then I didn't have the experience that I do now of driving different cars, and I still think, even after everything that I've driven, this car drives brilliantly. It is rear wheel drive, as I've already mentioned. This is an S, so we've got 184 horsepower and 270 newton meters of torque, which means that the 0 to 62 miles an hour sprint time is like 6.8 seconds. Even to this day, the i3 is still a very quick car, and the S just adds a little bit more zest, a little more zing to the way it drives. We're sitting on 20-inch alloys, so it actually makes the ride not as comfortable as the regular i3, but it adds a bit of a sporty edge to it, so it now attacks bends with a real vigour. And another thing about driving the i3 that you notice straight away are the regen brakes. I'd never driven anything with regen brakes before until I drove this car, and I didn't really know how to use them at the time. However, the more time you spend in the car, the more you get used to them, the more you learn them, the more you learn how to one pedal drive this car, the more they make sense. And actually you end up only using one pedal in the end. all in all, I think the i3 and the i3S have aged so well, and it's so impressive that they are still going, and that they are still genuinely impressive cars to drive, even after all the electric advancements and so on that we've made over the last 8 years. Obviously now we've got the new breed of iCars. We've got the iX3, which I drove 2 weeks ago, and if you'd like to see that video, use the link in the top of the screen. We've got the i4 and the iX coming very, very soon. So this car has really paved the way for the next generation. Its range is still good in today's market, and it still drives just as well as it did all those years ago. Thank you ever so much for watching. Do please like this video and subscribe to the channel for plenty more content to come.